Today I want to talk about the value of practicing staccato and legato, or also known as connecting the notes and disconnecting the notes. And we're going to take a simple pattern to demonstrate this. So let's say we're going to play this chord, C major 7, C, E, G, B. And we're going to move it through different inversions with both hands. If you don't know about inversions, check out my video on inversions, or join my program to learn more about it. So, after the first position, you put C on the other side, then you put E on the other side, and you put G on the other side. That's inversions. And we're going to do it with both hands like this. Now here's where staccato and legato practice comes in handy. When you only play this as legato, here's what tends to happen. Your fingers clump because you're not actually articulating them. Because when you're playing legato, you're trying to be on the softer side. So the fingers don't articulate the way that they do when you're playing staccato. So this brings me to my point. Even if the sound that you desire is not the staccato sound, even if you desire a legato sound, you have to practice staccato. And the reason is to practice articulating the fingers fully, so that when you do play legato, your fingers don't clump. That's what happens when we don't practice staccato enough. The fingers clump. And you end up getting this kind of sound. That, not only can that be solved by a metronome, but more importantly, the metronome and the timing, it sorts itself out if you practice staccato. So we don't just practice to use the sound that we're practicing. Sometimes we practice to create a balance or to compensate for a different skill. Okay, so this is called cross training. We work on a different skill so that the other skill can get better. And so I would start thinking of legato and staccato, or connected and disconnected, as yin and yang, kind of like you would in your life, okay? So in your life, you have moments where you feel more connected and moments where you feel more disconnected. And oftentimes, the disconnection is setting you up for the next moment where you feel more connected, and sometimes even more connected than you felt before you got disconnected. So you have this yin and yang, and you have this upward trend. If you're flowing with this correctly, you actually become more connected as you move through the disconnections. And that's really what the dance of life is about. And that's why it's so beautiful to have a practice of music, because it mirrors these principles that underlie our entire life. So there's actually one more type of articulation that really is effective for practice, and that is tenuto, which is usually indicated by a horizontal line on top of the note. And what it means is it tells the performer to hold the note for its full value, sometimes slightly longer, giving it emphasis or weight without a strong accent, creating a firm, sustained, but not overly connected sound, distinct from staccato, or heavy legato. Okay, so when you give emphasis or weight without a strong accent or creating something too connected, you get tenuto. So tenuto is a nice middle ground between legato and staccato because it's held, it's sustained, but it's not overly connected. So legato might be something like this. Staccato might be something like this. And tenuto might be something like this. So while staccato might be like this, and legato might be like this, tenuto is more like this. And the thing about tenuto is you give more emphasis or weight, but it's without a strong accent. So that's different then. Do you hear the difference? Here's legato, and here's staccato, and then here's tenuto. Here's legato, and tenuto. Legato, tenuto. So it's subtle, especially if you're not used to hearing the difference side by side. But one is less connected, and there's more emphasis. So here's staccato, here's legato, here's tenuto. You hear the difference? Legato is more connected, it's more sustained. Tenuto is a little bit less connected. So legato, tenuto, staccato. Okay, and to go back to the premise of this, the meaning of this is cross training. Okay, so you play one type of dynamic approach in order to work on the other ones. Because when you're playing legato, you're not necessarily thinking to articulate properly. Because things are moving so fast, you can kind of get away with a little laziness with your fingers, and that's not what we want. So we have to cross train to avoid laziness. So staccato. Tenuto. And legato. As things get faster, it's harder to tell. You know, if it's slower. much easier to tell when it's slower. Okay, let's take a different chord. Let's play D major. D major 7. And give the wrist a little bounce as you do this. That helps with articulating the fingers. I really mean this when I say you can't practice this enough. If you're ever wondering what to practice and you're just, in a moment of deliberation, please do this. It's only going to help you because you're working on your dynamics and your articulation. You're working on your fundamentals, your chords. You're working on getting the hands to cooperate together. You're working on rhythm. You're working on evenness of tone. You're working on finger independence. Like, what aren't you working on when you're doing this? And maybe this goes without saying, but this is a beautiful technique. On top of all the things that you're benefiting from by working on this, it's also just a beautiful technique. That's from a Sibelius etude, actually an impromptu. It uses a major 7 augmented chord. So, as you can tell, depending on the shape of the chord, your fingers are more likely to clump because they're not used to the configuration. So just because you can do one of these, like C major, doesn't mean all of them are going to be easy. So we should always practice all 12 chords with all varying chord qualities. Let's try D flat major. Let's do it staccato now. Da 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 da. Okay. One more. Let's do G major 7. Let's do it again, just for good luck. Make sure those wrists are bouncing. Gotta wake that left hand up. Okay, so I hope you found this valuable and insightful and a window into cross training your articulation so that your desired articulation sounds the way you want it to sound. I'm Max Casaza. I'll see you next time.